200 CT Quick Start Guide number 1. Setting the 200 CT for a single discharge test. This guide will walk you through the steps necessary to set the 200 CT unit to perform a single discharge. Power on the 200 CT unit, and on the main menu select Test Mode and then Single DCH. The discharge parameter screen will appear as shown above. Using the Modify key, highlight the first value and set the amp hours rated for the amount of amps and time you will run the test for. So if we are going to do a 100 amp hour battery, we're going to set it for 100 amp hours using the plus and minus keys. And we're going to set it for 2 hours. To do a test at 100 amp hours at 2 hours, we'll set the discharge current at 50 amps. So if I discharge 50 amps for 2 hours, it will remove 100 amp hours from the battery. The next parameter is the total discharge capacity. This value should be set higher than the amp hour rating of the battery, so that if the battery performs more than 100% capacity, we can still capture what full capacity is. We are going to set this parameter for 125 amp hours. Hitting the Apply button will save the parameters that you've changed on this screen. I recommend hitting the Apply button often so that you don't lose your programming as you go through these setup selections. The next parameter to set is the total discharge time. Again, if I'm doing a 2-hour test, I want the total discharge time to be in excess of that 2 hours, in case the battery does run more than 100% capacity. We'll set this value at 2 hours and 20 minutes. The next parameter we need to set is the cell low voltage for the lowest cell voltage. You want the cells to be allowed to reach on an individual basis. Battery discharge rates are published in amps versus time to a certain end voltage, and the optional end voltages are 1.85, 1.83, 1.80, 1.75, and 1.70. For this test, we're going to set this value to 1.70 volts. Number of cell low settings. When we set the number of cell lows, this is how many cells are allowed to drop below that low cell voltage limit before the test terminates itself automatically. This system is 24 cells, so I'm going to set my number of cell lows at 6, or 25% of the cells. The next parameter, cell sum. This is the total number of battery cells that are going to be monitored during the capacity test. We'll set this value to 24 cells. Numbers of strings. This is the number of parallel batteries that I'm testing all at the same time. So typically we're going to test one individual battery tray or one individual battery system at a time, but I can set up the unit to test 2, 3, or 4 parallel strings all at the same time. This value should be at 1 if you're only charging a single battery. The final value in the discharge screen, discharge parameters screen, is group low voltage. This is the parameter that we want to end the capacity test of the 200 CT. The group low voltage should be my cell low voltage times the number of cells in that battery system. So if I'm doing 24 cells down to 1.70 volts per cell, this level should be 31.6. When I'm done changing all the parameters in the discharge screen, I'm going to hit the Apply button to save all of those settings. Press the OK button to apply those new settings or parameters to the discharge profile. Once I get my discharge profile set up, I'm going to press the Start button to take me into the actual discharge summary screen. Here you'll see charger voltage, battery group voltage, discharge current, the number of battery low voltages, the test time that has passed, and the number of amp hours that have been removed from the battery as the test progresses. From this screen, I can press the battery button and I can look at the voltages of the individual cells as I connect the modules to the battery. So as I connect the modules to cells 1 through 4, I should see the voltages populate on the screen as I add that final module to measure the 4th cell. Once the module is connected to the 4 cells and powers up, it will begin transmitting the voltage readings to the SBS-200CT. Once I get all of my modules connected and I see all of my individual cell voltages, I'll press the Exit button. I'll go back to the discharge summary screen and I'm going to push the Start button. The 200 CT will run the discharge with all of the parameters that are set in that discharge profile. Thank you for watching. Please visit us at sbsbattery.com or call 800-554-2243.